Meantime, 28 people remain hospitalized right now, including the alleged gunman, Major Nadal Malik Hassan, who is on a ventilator in stable condition. Shannon Wolfson begins our team coverage. She's live in Fort Hood. Shannon.
It has been another emotional day here at Fort Hood. Let me tell you the latest about the alleged shooter, Army Major Nadal Malik Hassan. He was shot in the chest by a Fort Hood police officer and is reportedly still unconscious after surgery. Meanwhile, the Army's top brass came here to Fort Hood today to mourn. Exactly 24 hours after the shooting first began, a lowered flag and a moment of silence at Fort Hood.
I'll tell you candidly, this was a kick in the gut. Not only for the Fort Hood community, but also for our entire Army.
U.S. Army General George Casey and Army Secretary John McHugh told a sea of reporters they came to Fort Hood to comfort their Army family who has lost so much, especially the 13 killed and 30 wounded.
These are soldiers who are preparing to do what they love for the country that they love.
All of the killed and injured were in the Soldier Readiness Center preparing for deployment, except for one, 35-year-old Fort Hood police officer Kimberly Munley.
She eliminated the threat. She did what she was trained to do. She's a hero. She's a weapons expert, and so she saved, in my mind, no doubt, countless lives.
Now, coming up tonight at 6, we are going to talk more about exactly how Officer Kimberly Munley took down Major Hassan and why Army officials say she likely saved countless lives. Now, information is slow about the investigation into these shootings, which is being handled primarily by the FBI. We are live at Fort Hood tonight. For now, Robert and Leslie, back to you.
Thanks very much. Shannon Wolfson live at Fort Hood.
And new at 5 o'clock tonight, we know the gun Hassan used to shoot all of his victims was purchased legally at a Killeen gun shop. It was known as Guns Galore. That handgun is a semi-automatic FN57, a Belgium-made gun that stirred some controversy at times here in the United States. The pistol fires a small caliber, very high-velocity round, and it holds up to 20 rounds in a magazine. Now, gun control advocates have criticized this weapon in the past because they've claimed that the bullets could penetrate a Kevlar vest. Although military ammo for the pistol is capable of that, we understand commercial ammunition is not.
Those closest to Hassan at his apartment complex in Killeen are helping to connect the dots on what he was up to in the hours before the shooting. KXAN's Aaron Cargile joins us live in Killeen with more.
Robert, neighbors who I spoke with today tell me nothing unusual stuck out, who came in contact with him over the last couple of days. He was his normal, reserved, kind self, and he was especially kind to his next-door neighbor who had only lived next to him for about a month. Patricia Villa pulled out bags and boxes of frozen vegetables in her freezer for us. She says Hassan brought them over Wednesday along with these shelves and a clock. He also gave her husband about a dozen brand new shirts, even a jacket still wrapped in a dry cleaning bag with Hassan's receipt stapled to it from a business in Maryland. She'd only lived in the Casa del Norte apartments for a month and didn't know Hassan until he befriended her this week, eventually giving her a copy of the Quran. Patricia also says Hassan asked her to clean his apartment on Friday and paid her $60 in advance. She delivered a couple of tamales to his door Thursday morning to tell him thanks. All this neighbor knew was the soldier living next door was getting ready to leave for Iraq.
He just said that he was leaving on Friday and that he was ready for it.
Now, FBI agents hauled away an entire dumpster this morning where Hassan threw some garbage away Thursday morning. His apartment manager also said a fellow soldier had vandalized Hassan's car this summer, upset over an Allah is Love bumper sticker. We'll talk more about that tonight at 6. For now, we're live at Fort Hood. Aaron Cargile, KXAN, Austin News.
Yesterday's shooting has sent shockwaves of pain and grief through Fort Hood and Killeen tonight, the tight-knit community.
KXAN's David Scott spoke to several people who were first on the scene after the shooting and has their emotional stories.
Thursday's casualty count was bad, but it could have been much worse. 300 to 400 soldiers pass through that readiness center every day, getting inoculations and health exams, dental checkups. It could have been much worse. And the first responders, They move fast and they save lives. Hear their story from them.
When you have anything like an active shooter or anything like that, you don't hesitate at all. You go right in, and your main goal is to take the shooter down.
So your weapon was drawn at all times.
There was all of us. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of us out there with weapons drawn.
We had a couple of mass casualty situations like this in Iraq. Usually, though, in Iraq or Afghanistan, when you have a large event and this many casualties, it's usually from a blast, and so it's just a different type of injury pattern. This is certainly as many gunshot wounds as I've ever seen at one time.
So we describe it as just controlled chaos. It's just very chaotic, but everyone knows what to do. Everyone has a job, and we worked extremely efficient to move those patients quickly through the emergency department and get them up to the operating rooms where they needed to be.
It was just intense. It was very intense. Soldiers carrying soldiers, and one patient coming in right after the other, getting people to beds, taking some of our patients that were in the emergency room that were stable and moving them to different areas or, to chairs, and making sure that they were taken care of and not forgotten, and at the same time get these critical patients into beds and get them all taken care of.
Those responders say Thursday was a day they will never forget. And grief counselors were on the base today to at least help folks deal with it. At Fort Hood, I'm David Scott, KXAN Austin News.
Last night and into today, officials called on people in the Fort Hood area to donate blood for the shooting victims. And this was the result. People lined up, sometimes waiting for hours to give their blood. Blood donations also went up in the Austin area after the shootings. The Blood and Tissue Centers of Central Texas says any blood given today will replenish the blood they sent to hospitals near Fort Hood yesterday. If you gave blood in the past several days to the Blood and Tissue Centers of Central Texas, chances are your blood went to help those injured yesterday. It's been a scary 24 hours for those 30 victims injured and their families. KXAN's Matt Fleener has spent the day trying to find out more information about the victims of this shooting. He's live in Williamson County with more. Matt?
Robert, this is where two of the victims came last night from the Fort Hood shootings by helicopter. One was released this morning after staying overnight for observation. Another was in surgery this morning. He is still in critical condition as of tonight. These victims are from all over the country. Many more of them are at Scott and White Hospital in Temple tonight. 10 patients are there, 6 still in intensive care at this hour. Doctors say 2 of those patients needed additional surgery today. The chief of surgery there said the victims had gunshot wounds anywhere from the neck, head, abdomen, and chest.
The majority of the patients that came through the emergency room were either unconscious, in shock, or had been intubated with a breathing tube somewhere else before they were sent here.
As we said, the patient here still in critical condition, expected to be here for at least a few more days. Robert?
Well, Matt, what's being done to accommodate all the families of the people who've been shot who, as you said, are coming in from all across the country?
Well, they really are. Lots of hotels have actually donated rooms, making sure these families are very, very well taken care of, and the military is actually being responsible for contacting all of the families, taking that responsibility away from the hospitals who have had a lot of work to do during these past 24 hours. For now, we're live in Round Rock. Matt Fleener, KXAN Austin News.
For many Muslim Americans, there's a fear that the shootings at Fort Hood Thursday will mean another round of recrimination and backlash.
Jim Swift spent the day at a North Austin mosque to gauge the temperature there. And what did you find out, Jim?
Leslie, Robert, we heard Imam Islam Mossad remind his congregation that to be Muslim means to behave in a peaceful way. And he specifically singled out the actions of the Fort Hood shooter as an example of how not to behave.
This is something, again, that is very tragic. There's no justification for it. There is no excuse for it.
Events of Thursday are sorted out. The Imam urged area Muslims to remain engaged in the broader community and not shy away from contact with non-Muslims. Having said that, however, he also reminded those attending Friday prayers to be extra careful for the foreseeable future, going out only in groups and being aware of their surroundings. And at 6 o'clock tonight, we'll take a closer look at the Friday prayer service and at the Imam's reflections on what happened yesterday and what it means for Muslim relations with the rest of the community. Robert, Leslie?